All right, good morning once again and welcome back. This is the Morning Cafe on TV47. My name is Freddy Ndemuli. Time for us to take a look at the dailies. And of course the dailies today, one name roars through and, okay fine, I'm using the same ones that I'm seeing here on the standard, Sifuna roars. Is the name Sifuna that cuts across most of the dailies today. Fine, of course, with what's happening in ODM. So the standard, Sifuna roars. Daily Nation, orange showdown pale juu. Of course, they're talking about matters drought and starving amid plenty. But matters ODM and what's happening with Sifuna on the front page of the Daily Nation. People Daily, is this the new force uniting to oust Ruto from power? With Sifuna once again there on the front page, alongside Winnie Odinga, Babu Owino, Caleb Amisi and James Orengo. Kimeumana ODM, Taifa Leo. Habari kuu pale na Sifuna bado pale kwenye ukurasa wa mbele, alafu magazeti mengine pia yanazungumzia habari ile ile. Sifuna, Sifuna, Sifuna. Nefuna, Sifuna. This morning we're privileged to have with us Wakili Joshua Nyamori. Karibu sana.
Good morning.
Yeah. And also Ikwa Wambota, a political analyst.
Good morning.
Karibu sana.
Asante, Fred.
This conversation is what we're going to start with. Sifuna's position, is it a new movement, and what does it mean for ODM? Let's listen to what this Secretary General of ODM, because at least according to the court's pronouncement, he is still Secretary General, what he had to say yesterday at that rally in Kitengela.
Simama hapa Kitengela tarehe 15 mwezi wa pili mwaka 2026 nikiwa bado katibu mkuu wa chama cha ODM.
Wakili, there are those who insist, and we had this in Mombasa, that the party insists the new Secretary General is Catherine Omanyo. Yet the court has pronounced itself, albeit temporarily, up until it comes and makes another pronouncement, that Sifuna remains the SG of the ODM party. From a legal standpoint, who should we listen to? Who is the SG?
You know, this is a very interesting scenario in which we have a court pronouncement, and then we have what I would call the lived experience, the reality on the ground. You know, parties are constitutional bodies. Kenya is a multi-party democracy, and therefore parties are allowed to form, to caucus, but they do it within the context of a constitution, within the context of the existing Political Parties Act and other laws. And that then requires that parties must operate within the ambits of their organs. And what then that means is that political party decisions can only be made by political parties. Courts cannot take that role. And then so in my view, so long as the structures of the party are still united in certain positions, Sifuna is definitely going to lose this battle in the long run.
My question was, really, as it stands right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yes.
If you are asking who to listen to, then you should ask yourself, where is the institution? When I look at the two entities, in Kitengela, I saw, a number of young people from different entities. Okay, some in ODM, in DCP, in various, some supporting Matiang'i, coming together. In Mombasa, Tononoka, I saw members of the Central Committee, a neck of ODM speaking to their members. Okay, so if you want to know what ODM is saying, then please listen to the Mombasa speeches. But because they emanate from decisions that have been made in party organs. But if you want to listen to noise in the streets, then probably you could listen to the Kitengela, group, because they are conglomeration of various voices. In my view, then a cacophony that might not be coherent in its position, political party position.
What would happen in this instance? Because we understand the court pronouncement is expected sometime February 26th?
Yes.
And then the NDC of the party comes a day or two after that. What if the court declares that Sifuna is still SG and then immediately after that, even a week after that, there's an NDC. What would that mean?
You know, what we must appreciate is that the parties cannot take over the role of political party organs. The parties would just be tests whether procedures have been followed.
The courts, yeah.
Okay? And you know, sanction bodies to follow procedures. And so my view is that the farthest the court process can go is probably to order certain procedure to be done again, or to, you know, if the party feels that there is a procedure that was never followed, but then decides that despite that, party organs have made decisions, they would then give the ousted, you know, SG as safe landing, probably damages or something. But a court cannot force, you know, a democratic institution that has its procedures and processes to, you know, continue to work with an SG that the organs of the party decide to throw out.
It is definitely a matter to be decided by the party. And
it's a matter to be decided by the party.
One of those organs that makes such decisions is the NDC.
Exactly. You know, the procedures that, you know, Sifuna and his group may invoke is at the judicial review of procedures, beyond the clarification within the political party's tribunal. And then the clear principles is that courts do not take over decision making. Yes. Courts can only test and determine whether procedures have been followed, whether there is fair administration of justice under Article 47, and whether the decisions are valid in accordance with the law.
Yes.
Yeah.
Either way, it sets us up for a very interesting NDC of the ODM party, whenever that will happen, whether Sifuna will still be SG. He's still a member of ODM party, and that will be very interesting. But Bonaikua, now the discussion has moved from just an issue of wrangling between two factions of ODM party. It is now about Sifuna and his rise in Kenyan politics, and the fact that the chants we've seen, the kind of crowd we saw in Kitengela yesterday, even we have clips of people chanting Sifuna's name at the rugby tournament, which was not a political event, and Sifuna was not present at all, but we had those chants at the rugby event. And the question is this slowly turning out into a different movement?
Thank you, Fred, and once again, thank you for having me this morning. You know, I think we cannot be able to explain what could be happening right now with the Sisindio Sifuna, you know, trending without necessarily, you know, looking at reasons why and how we got ourselves there. First and foremost, Edwin Sifuna has been pronouncing himself in regard to his stance as far as the broad-based government is concerned for the longest. So if you look at the chants that came out of a rugby tournament, and if you look at what happened in Kitengela yesterday, it is only someone who does not live in Kenya who would want to ignore the fact that now this is starting to be a movement, because basically Sifuna is talking the language of the people. You know, I keep on reminding many people, especially those who are holding positions in political parties, that a political party is as big as the people following it. Anybody who seeks to be elected in any position whatsoever, you are as good as people who believes in you. Numbers here comes into play from morning to evening, and there's no any other way of explaining who you want to become if you do not look at the people who are following you and the numbers that you're going to attract. And if you look at the Sifuna right now, he may not be having the biggest part of the, you know, the organs, what do they are calling the organs of the party as far as ODM is concerned. But the few he has the people. And if you look at even how they have coined their individual appearance on the ground, the two sides of the divide of the ODM, you would find that one is saying is in the ground because they thought the ground is what they need. But Sifuna and his team quickly coined leader Mwananchi. So Mwananchi turned up yesterday. So he may not have had Wakili have tried to explain. He may not have had the Central Committee and the likes with him yesterday, but he had the people. Because you saw everybody was headed to Kitengela. And people, in fact, if it was not that important. If it didn't send a message, why throw tear gas? Why didn't we see tear gas yesterday being thrown in Mombasa, where the other team was? These are the things that are making Kenyans extremely annoyed. And that is where the support is coming from. The support is coming from the fact that the team that is being led by Sifuna is talking the language that the people want to hear in terms of putting the government in check and calling things out. So that is exactly why you are seeing Sifuna attracting people that would rather be regarded as non-ODM. But when you are going to a presidency, when you're going into an election, it's not about the people who are in ODM or people who are not in ODM. It's about us, all of us as Kenyans, and where we want to go.
Wakili, over the last 2-3 years, has been a very unique and probably something untested that has happened in Kenya. That's the Gen Z factor in Kenyan politics. You saw the kind of awakening in 2024 and in 2025. And then it died down. And many people still do not understand how this will factor into next year's election because they're not even registering as voters. It would appear that this weekend they appear to have been excited somewhat with this new political feeling. Do you think that finally the young Kenyans have something they can ride on? The chance of Sisi Ndio Sifuna. Do you think that is the direction it's taking now?
I'd want to, discourage you from getting excited about what you may have seen in Kitengela, because it's not the first time we have seen exciting crowds. And you see, crowds are manufactured. What I mean that crowds are manufactured, crowds depend on the, what is exciting in the moment. Crowds depend on the spectacle that is created. Crowds depend on the level of mobilization and the type of mobilization. And this is from, from history. Okay, if you, for instance, read Julius Caesar, you will read about the Brutus crowd. When the conspirators come out and start speaking, the entire crowd in Rome was behind them. And then immediately, Mark Antony takes over the platform, and then the crowd shifts. So crowd, I'll keep telling people, is like wildfire on a windy afternoon. Okay, like wild bushfire. It depends on which side the wind will blow. Basically, what I'm telling you is that we will continue to see these spectacles. Okay?
And it will not matter.
But these spectacles don't decide elections. Elections, we are a multi-party democracy. The question then that you should ask yourself is which part of the crowd, or rather which part of the group, has control of institutional structures, has the capability to roll out electoral machines. In my view, a number of these Gen Z spectacle then dissipate, and the Gen Z find themselves in the various groups that we have, because the Gen Z still lack the institutional and organizational capability, capable of turning spectacle in the streets into votes and turning out those votes on election day. While least organized political parties that have representation across the 40,000 polling centers across the countries have the capability of doing that. So I don't think that the Gen Z spectacle will turn into a big phenomenon.
Yet it was the biggest scare for all politicians, and this is across board. The fact that this Gen Z is unpredictable, they didn't know which direction they would go. Even for the United Opposition, they still haven't been able to capture the psyche of the Gen Z. Do you agree with Wakili that there's nothing to worry, especially for the political class, when they see someone seemingly appear to excite that group?
Absolutely not. And I hope Wakili is not serious. Because if he was serious, he would have known that there's nothing in optics in terms of numbers that you can pull. Because how do you pull numbers if they're not interested in what you're saying? Right? People, this is politics we're talking about here. People come to listen to you because they like and they are admired and they are being pulled towards you by what it is that you are saying. And that is what eventually amounts into votes. Now, look at what happened with Gen Zs. That particular movement sent a very big message to this country. It was the first time that we saw the things that we saw. Because even in the 1990s, when the multi-party, youths were fighting for the multi-party, they didn't do what these Gen Zs managed to do. These people are in their own time, their own times of even how they communicate and how they mobilize. They are shaping narratives every day. If they are following up on something, you know that they have even made a president to come and revert some of the things that they have done. They are not seemingly powerful, as the Wakiri would want to, to kind of categorize them. These are serious people. And by the way, most of them belong to the section of Kenyans that never used to vote. Remember, even in the last election, over 8 million people never showed up to vote. Who are they? Who are the people that never used to come out to vote? Now, they have seen something in Sifuna that they are interested in. And you saw they were actually the one who are mobilizing on Twitter. And they are the ones that are wearing the t-shirts of CCD or Sifuna. If that does not worry the ODM on the other side, I don't know what needs to worry them. Because apparently they would even go further from power. Watch the size when I say we need power. You will not get it if you're not going to be able to pull these kind of people to your side.
Yes.
Because remember in my previous comment in regards to the numbers, if anybody would want to win the next election, then you need to count those 8 million people and give them a reason to come and vote. Because it's like they never had any reason to come and vote. And if Sifuna is what they'll be following, worry where he will go.
Do you think that the media is overplaying this? Because if you look at the papers today, they draw comparisons. On the front page of the Star, we have, okay, fine, the front page of the Star just has what happened in Kitengela. But you look at Taifa Leo, they've drawn a comparison between the ODM rally in Tononoka, Mombasa, and the one in Kitengela. And the crowds, okay, it's been left to the readers to decide which is a huge crowd. They don't say which one it is. On the front page of Daily Nation, there on the top strip, they have what is happening in Kitengela and what happened in Tononoka with just the leadership there. Now the Standard has done 2 pages, front page and back page. On the front page, Sifuna roars. On the back page, ODM deemed. Do you think the media is overplaying this, or is just the reality that in as far as perception is concerned, the bigger your crowd, you're the winner?
You know, Kenyan media, just like any other media across the world, has its agenda. And, the agenda of the media depends on, the ownership of the media, the target group, who the advertisers are, and so many other things. And, the political interests that they may be serving. And, looking at some of this, I was looking at the headlines in the morning, for instance, the Standard headline, and looking at the headlines they have carried, the alarmist headlines they have carried. Clearly, they're pushing a narrative. And you see, as they say that, they're not answering who was in Kitengela, okay? Who was in Tononoka, okay? The question is, are the crowds that have been mobilized into a spectacle capable of making decisions within political parties? Are they able to turn into votes? And I keep warning people, don't, in the height of the Gen Z protests, I remember telling certain young people that if you guys are not careful and don't get into these institutions, you will be left out in the streets. And indeed, when, the big boys then sat down to agree on how to share power, the Gen Z were not on that table. And these are the same Gen Z that, mobilizing them into a spectacle is very important. So somebody decides to, I'm told they call it form, to have a form.
Any form too.
Diani. and all of them take the SGR into Diani. Then another day, the president's son has launching a matatu, just a single matatu, and mobilizes on social media. And they're all it found me in the CBD, and I thought there was riots. When I went there, they were celebrating a single matatu being mobilized. So it is an interesting thing. It is interesting to be young. I was once at that stage. They have the advantage that, they have this social media. But unless it is turned into institutions, and they are able to make decisions within institutions, and they are able to then turn the crowds into votes, and these votes are turned into the ballot box, this thing will always dissipate.
But don't you think that if anyone manages to capture that and convert it into votes, that will actually be a game changer?
It doesn't just happen as easily as that. You know, the young people that you saw with the one old man, Orengo, in Kitengela will have capability. There is always a desire, but then the question is, do they have the capability?
Okay.
Politics is expensive. It takes resources. It takes structures. It takes institutions. Do they have that? They don't have that. For instance, I keep telling people that Orengo can make a lot of noise in the streets of Kitengela, but most likely he's losing elections in Siaya.
Talking about Orengo,
yes.
He's been there before. He's one of those, back in the 90s, the young tax.
Yeah.
We saw him on top of vehicles. He's definitely a politician who has experience. He's seen something in these young people. Can we really dismiss a politician of such stature?
Orengo is not reading the time. Orengo is a governor. Is not an activist anymore, okay? He has certain responsibilities upon which the Siaya people will measure him. They will not measure him depending on the noise he has made at Kitengela. They will measure him in terms of the roads he has built, the hospitals he has put up, the services to the people in terms of sewerage and the support to agriculture. So my view is that that cannot help Orengo in Siaya. In fact, you realize that the entire county assembly is pulling on a different line. You saw them, the entire assembly visiting the president in Eldoret. That tells you that Orengo is not sitting pretty. Probably by appearing in these Gen Z, forums, wanting to explain the difficulties that he's experiencing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd want to comment on the position that James Orengo currently is holding there in this new grouping. He, as he said, is the only old man in this group, and we'll be taking a look at your feedback. What do you think Orengo has seen in this group?
Well, why would I want to ignore what Orengo has seen? What an old man can see seated down, a young boy cannot even see on top of a tree. It is like just trying to ignore your father when he's giving you a counsel, just because your father is giving you a counsel that you do not like as a young man. I am very happy for Orengo being part and parcel of this group, because obviously there is something he can tell them that they would not have seen it from the same perspective. And when I listen to Wakili even claiming that Orengo doesn't have a proper following on his ground because his MCAs visited the president in Eldoret, we know why people these days are visiting the president. It has become more lucrative than even asking for allowances within the county. So people are visiting the president for completely different reasons altogether. But I need to say something. Sifuna and his team are lucky to have Orengo on their side, because I would imagine if they didn't. And if we are talking about old man, because I've heard Wakili describe Orengo as an old man, in terms of energy, who has more energy between Orengo and Dr. Oburu? So in terms of even explaining anything that people can understand what you are saying, who can you even listen to? So we are not supposed to talk about old here, in terms of that. If we want to go that direction, then we'll even be able to know that the other divide has more problems than the ones that Sifuna is enjoying. I mean, Sifuna is enjoying somebody who can actually sit them down and tell them something, clearly, and they listen. Somebody we can give a microphone and talk without being whispered through on the side to be reminded what they were supposed to say. I mean, this is very dangerous. So basically what I'm trying to tell you is that, Wakili, please, let Orengo be able to give these young people, like when you are old, the best thing you can do is to share with the young people what you have, so that in the time in which you are exiting the stage, you have already shared your experiences and you have been able to guide the people, show them. But I need to answer something that he said earlier in regards to optics and perception thereof. I mean, Fred, you are aware that as much as we would want to accuse the media of trying to actually put the optics of what happened here and there in terms of crowd comparison, That is what directs or dictates the perception of politics. Right now, the perception of the entire country is that the entire people of ODM are with Edwin Sifuna and his group. Why? Because of the same optics you're talking about.
Exactly.
And this is a game of perception. And the moment is going to win that the people of ODM are with Sifuna and his group, then the other side will be left with nothing,
and that's a
other than themselves.
Asking. That's a question we're asking online. My colleague Anne is on standby. Anne, what are the people saying about the question we're asking today with regard to what's happening in the ODM party?
All right, Sifuna ouster, end of ODM, yes or no? Let's see. One of you viewers are saying this morning, umejuaje nimesha kanasema sisi ndio Sifuna. Kevin Wanjala, Uhuru Financials. Pascal, Waluya waunde chama yao. Pascal. Kevin Ligolo, ODM ni chama ya Wajaluo, Kitengela is not ODM home turf. Dagi Blessing, sisi ndio Sifuna. Sean Slight Kale, mimi naitwa Sifuna. Sarah Vincent, but ODM died the moment Amolo was lowered to the grave. Everyone is just pulling for survival. Kennedy Wambia, your prayer, 2027 is done, 2-term. Victor Tanui, ODM rested with Baba. Vini Kinyanjui anasema ODM went with Baba. Mburu Shege, as one of founder members of ODM, Ruto sought to discipline Sifuna for refusing to sell the party to him. And there is a video to that effect. Oburu and Kahuts received initial down payment. ODM is dead and buried. We have some more. So Fred, we can see the constant feedback here is ODM is dead. I wonder if Wakili Nyamori would agree with that. Is your ODM dead, yes or no?
ODM would be dead if its structures and institutional systems are not working. In my view, the institutional structures of the party are functioning well and are able to sit and make decisions. And so I see ODM at the moment where it is clarifying its positions, considering the fact that they just went through a very traumatic experience, losing their charismatic leader who has led the party since its formation and who was a national hero. Therefore, at that moment, the party had then to get to a point where it clarifies that we still hold these positions or we are changing positions. And that starts with, the organs of the party. The Central Committee then sat down and chose, identified Honorable Buru, who was then also, elected by NEC. And that when they met in Mombasa with the governing council, that was then adopted. And they are moving around, assuring the membership of the position that the party holds. Definitely at such moments, there is always possibility of certain minorities pulling out towards different directions and joining up with opponents of the party to try and destabilize the ship. My view is that ultimately, at the end of the noise and the spectacle and the excitement and the emotions, the institutions hold.
How many parties in Kenya? How many parties in Kenya have gone through what ODM is going through and survived? Because we've seen from KANU, Ford Kenya, all these parties that have had a very charismatic big leader, that after their exit and the kind of fractions that appear after that, it is a dim or a pale shadow of its former self.
Indeed, ODM is at that moment that I would say that it is facing an existential threat. Okay? And when facing an existential threat because Raila was a big institution within ODM. And that in his absence, it is possible if ODM does not strengthen its institutions, that the institutions can then collapse. How are the institutions then, clarified and strengthened? Institutions are clarified by ensuring that the organs of the party function, that the law the constitution of the party, and the rules are followed. And that, everybody is given an opportunity to express themselves, and then decisions are made democratically so that the minority can have their say, the majority will have their way. And I think looking at what I have seen in ODM so far, that is exactly what have been happening. They have been able to, establish a new leadership to take over from Raila Odinga. I believe that Oburu is a transitional leader, is a steward to enable the party clarify its long-term, existence.
So you do agree that for its long-term survival, Oburu Odinga may not necessarily be the leader to take them there?
Definitely, we cannot say that Honorable Oburu will lead the party for the next 30 years, okay? But then it was important during this period that somebody who has spent a lot of time with Raila Odinga, I grew up in ODM, although I left ODM at some point. And I keep telling people that I knew that Raila Odinga would take advice from various people, but ultimately the person he will go to for the last advice would be Honorable Oburu Odinga. Okay. And most of the time it is what Honorable Oburu Odinga tells him that he would follow. So Honorable Oburu Odinga was the brain box, while this Raila was the warrior. Okay. And that, being a self-effacing person, then a number of people, do not realize that he's very revolutionary in his thoughts. And my view that in such a process of transition from such a strong leader, they needed somebody who understands his philosophy and has been with him for a very long time. And that has happened in other revolutionary movements. Look at what happened when Fidel Castro's brother took over. And so my view is that ultimately, it is what Honorable Oburu is doing that will save ODM, rather than, minorities within the party joining up with people from other parties and mobilizing chaos in a bid to push their personal interest to take over from the positions of the...
But it's the timing of this crisis that probably will change the game for ODM. Elections in the next 18 months, a possible coalition with the UDA, that whose a lot of the agenda is yet to be confirmed. Of course, there's a debate about the running mate position and all that. Yes. A lot of the feeling and feedback we have is that this is the end of ODM.
Yeah.
Do you agree that, yes, as he says, it's facing an existential crisis or an existential threat, but according to everyone else, it's worse than that?
Yeah, it is actually worse than that. I can tell you this is a euthanasia case. This is what you call mercy, death, slow death of ODM. It's going to happen. First and foremost, the biggest mistake they did was to replace Baba with Oburu. And I agree with him, he could have been the brain box behind Baba. But of course, you never promote anybody to their incompetence level. Never. If you want to build a party like ODM and keep its existence alive, you should have taken somebody with the same vigor, with the same kind of power, with the same kind of warrior that Wakili is explained to us with Baba. It's match for a match. That's what they should have done. They had an opportunity as a party to actually ensure that there are not two functions. They had an opportunity to go back and, compromise here and there and ensure that what exactly do we need? Do we need to remain as a party? Do we need to divide it? But self-interest and personal interest came first. For most of them who want to go with the government, is purely because of the self-interest. Look at it this way. The other day, Oburu said that the position of the deputy president is what they are going for. Would you imagine now what would happen? I mean, Fred, it doesn't require you to be, a local scientist to know that will be another, bro in terms of the coalition they are looking into forming. Because assuming that they are going to actually dethrone the deputy president, his position, what's going to happen? With the smallest of support that is remaining within the mountain and its environs, what's going to happen in terms of trusting that this particular person is still going to keep the promise that he's going to give ODM? Yes. Now that he cannot keep the one for Gachagua, he cannot keep the one for, Kindiki, he will not even keep theirs. Okay. I can tell you, we are watching them and realizing that they do not even know what they are going to. If somebody actually roasted your brother, you cannot trust them with yourself. If you lose your finger in a guillotine, please be careful, you can lose your head in the same. I mean, they told us in one of their meetings that actually the problem with Uhuru Kenyatta is because he promised that he's going to make Raila the president, right? He said that, Oburu. He said that, and actually he watched as the seat was being taken. By who? Who is the current president? Mm-hmm. And are you telling me that you are now trusting the thief? the one who took your seat? I mean, it's pure confusion, Freddie. And I can tell you, all I'm seeing a party that never took time to sit down as the organs of the party we are being told. Never took time to sit down. Did we even listen to Edwin Sifuna during Baba's burial? That he said that for this time, we will come to you, the people, and you will tell us what you want with your own party. Mm-hmm. That was a very strong message because the people took it serious. And that is why the people are following Sifuna, because Sifuna is asking them. And Sifuna have not even declared himself as supporting whoever it is in terms of presidential candidate, the alignment in the opposition. No, he's still Katibu Mkuu wa Chama cha ODM, as he's calling himself even yesterday. Mm-hmm. He is saying he is in ODM. And
Wakili, as we continue drawing the comparisons between these two groupings within ODM, because that's what we have been drawn to by the newspapers, there's a clarity of thought and expression that Sifuna is known for, on one hand, and now there's the other side and how they're communicating through their party leader, Oburu Oginga. One, he said they're not going for the DP's position. He said it in a public platform, and that sent a message out there. Then he comes and says he was misquoted, and now the party is definitely going for that position. That speaks a lot. This lack of clarity, confused communication, definitely that's going to impact on ODM, even as they negotiate for the coalition.
You know, Oburu is a party leader, and as I told you, it is a party going through a transition. It's a party trying to clarify its position. It's a party trying to recalibrate. It's a party listening to itself. It's a party listening to the ground. So it is not strange that the party leader, at various moments, would, you know, take positions that keep evolving, because we are in an evolving situation. And that being a democratic entity, at every particular moment, the various groups in various organs of the party would have various positions. And I think Honorable Buru has made it clear that, you know, he will always hear and let people speak their mind. About the position, the issue of the deputy presidency or the running mate position, I think ultimately we have not seen the structure, the face, and the shape that the coalition will take, and whether it will just be ODM and UDA or whether other parties may join. Kenya's politics is a very dynamic field that keep evolving. And I think that what will ultimately guide the coalition in terms of the decision it will make on its presidential candidate and its running mate and the various positions that they can be able to offer to each other will be what would be the winning formula and what wins. I think that in Professor Kindiki we have a very strong deputy president. And if anybody doubted that, they should have listened to Professor Kindiki speak during the UDA aspirants meeting, in which he was able to, you know, bring out the manifesto of the party and the scorecard of the party over the last 3 years in a very eloquent and a deep manner, and having numbers and figures and data at his fingertips. And we have had, you know, the UDA brigade also express themselves. So in a situation in which we are in which we have, you know, two partners trying to come together, and every partner expressing its interest, you can be sure that positions will keep changing. And I believe that they will settle for the most enduring and what
do you think it would have? But if at all ODM were to demand for the running mate position and say that is a bare
I don't think that ODM can insist on a position if that position is not helping it, okay? ODM is, the question is, what do the membership of ODM need? I think the membership of ODM need continuity. The membership of ODM need to be in government. The membership of ODM need the government to respond to their development needs.
As an equal partner in a coalition, and even the chairperson has already indicated that it will be half the cow. You split it into two and they take this side, the other take the other side. In the nature of our presidential ticket, it is you take one, we take the other.
Equal partnership does not mean that you take the presidency and the deputy presidency. That is not equal partnership. It means that the essence of coalition is that you contribute your strengths. And in contributing your strength, then you are able to benefit from the output.
Post-2010...
In my view, are you able to allow me to finish?
No. Post-2010,
yes,
we've seen coalitions.
Yes.
And in every coalition, perhaps the best example would be the Jubilee Alliance,
yes,
where two parties came together to form a coalition. And they split those two positions. You take the presidency, I take the running mate position.
Yeah, but then that worked. President William Ruto then presented the best option for the coalition to have as a deputy president, in my own view. Okay, in my own view, you do not fix it unless it is broken, and I see a very strong deputy president. And a deputy president that just proved himself. You know, when he was told that he could not pull numbers, he proved himself during the Mbere by-election. At the same time, he has earned respect across the board. For me, the best scenario is that President William Ruto will still run with Professor Kindiki as a deputy. ODM, because of its contribution, will be able to get, decent representation within the cabinet. Decent representation within the cabinet and within the other organs of the party, and that in the manifesto of the coalition, they will be able to commit to certain projects that will respond to development needs of the members of ODM in their strongholds. My view is that will work, especially because ODM is still at that moment when it is clarifying itself, and that out of it, they have an opportunity working with President William Ruto to give their membership an opportunity to go through a period in which ultimately probably at 2032, they will have somebody who can run for presidency or could run for...
But listening to you, ODM is a party that has fielded a presidential candidate.
Yes.
The last 5 or so elections.
Yes.
But listening to you, you seem to look at ODM as the small brother in this coalition.
No, not at all.
Coalition deal. No. That probably they are not at par with UDA. They do not deserve a position in the presidential ticket. They are not there yet. They are recovering. So let them recover, get some strength, then probably in 2032 you can get there. But for now, you are the small brother.
You know,
is that what you're saying?
What you're trying to do is to diminish the traumatic experience that ODM just went through, and that inform, what may appear as a crisis at this moment, and that, then requires that it clarifies and recalibrates. ODM just lost Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga is not your ordinary politician. Raila Odinga was a national hero. Raila Odinga was, the leader that pulled ODM and its crowd together. The party, in my view, if I was an advisor to the party, I'm not. If I was an advisor to the party, I would then advise the membership and the organs of the party that it is important. And that is why I think that the leadership of Honorable Buru is important, that they use the stewardship of Honorable Buru and they use the partnership with the UDA party and government to be able to work within this broad-based government and in 2012 to be able to get position in which they could then get their membership, including young people within the party, to get into position that would enable them to recalibrate, but also to move around the country, to develop new partnerships, and to grow and demonstrate their capability, so that in time, by the time the president is retiring, they have been able to clarify and identify another charismatic leader. It would be a lie, for instance, to tell ODM that the right time, they have reached that moment.
Even for a deputy president's position, they're not there yet.
No. I'm not saying they're not there yet. For me, that deputy president has not emerged that can challenge the stature, the capability, and the value that Professor Kindiki then brings to the table.
Let's see what our viewers feel about this discussion about the running mate's position and the coalition building between UDA and ODM. Listening to Wakili here, would that be the kind of thinking that ODM is going with to this coalition? And what are the people saying?
All right, so coalitions are meant to create positions for people, but do the people agree with that statement by Wakili Nyamori this morning? Gladson Obwamo, they are all after what fits their stomach. No one is genuine, just wait and you will see when the temperatures cool, all will return to their parents. So there's a comment there about this only filling their stomachs. Munene Eric, if there are people who understood and learned Baba's art of politics, are these two guys, Babu and Sifuna. James Orina, ODM died instantly the moment they touched Sifuna, Kwisha dead. Ronnie Ogina, Baba blessed Edwin Sifuna a long time ago. Nyota ya mtu huwezi chukua hata kwa dawa. Super Senator is the young Baba we have been waiting for. We already have our Baba mdogo Sifuna. All right. So that's the feedback this morning. Is it really meant to create positions or spaces for other people, or are they just filling up their stomachs? All
right. Yes, that's a question to you, because people are feeling that, fine, as you go to a coalition, you better be negotiating for something worthwhile. Cabinet positions only, what Wakili calls decent representation?
No, there's no decent representation when you are promised cabinet positions. And first and foremost, you need to know, are you going in as an equal partner, or are you actually being employed? I think ODM need to learn one, the divide of the ODM that is actually negotiating with government. They need to first understand that for the past, how many elections you said? 4 elections or thereabout?
5.
That they have actually tried to go for the presidency. They haven't been able to capture it for one reason or the other, as they would explain it or as the reality would be. But you see now they're trying to take a shortcut by thinking that William Ruto is actually going to get them into government. That is why even Oburu is in, we want power. Tunataka power. You cannot get power without the people. They are actually abandoning the people that they initially had. They only needed one partner on the other side and they would have captured this government in the morning. The next government, easy, because they had the people. They only short for they were foreign. They only needed a partner, just like William Ruto is looking for them. Why is the President William Ruto looking for ODM with all this vigor and trying as much as possible to ensure that they sign an agreement with him? He is the president. Why is he not comfortable that UDA alone would be able to win the next election? Because he understands the game. He understands what actually brings in that power. And if ODM is going to go to William Ruto and say, we don't want anything, we just want to support you, he is going to give them nothing. I do not believe, and I don't believe that Wakili is serious when they say that they are not coming in to negotiate for a position. They are not going to take anything less, because how are they going to convince their people? The people that they actually come in with in the government. Because remember, we started our conversation by saying, without numbers, you're not talking about anything about politics. I mean, it's a siamese twin. You separate them, they die. You cannot separate numbers and politics. And that amounts into a win. That is what we are discussing here. That is why we are saying the numbers we saw and the kind of support we are seeing Sifuna being accorded, he's a man to watch. Whatever side he's going to fall, that side is going to be a big threat as far as numbers of the next election is concerned. No matter how much you want to ignore him, it is at your own peril that you want to ignore him. You don't want to accept the fact that this man is actually going to take over from Baba, because some people do not believe that he was the right person. You know, Babu Owino has been almost been chased out of the party for saying from Baba to Babu or something like that. I think there's a kind of a say that he was saying that because he was clearly declaring himself as the next party leader. He had even said that they want to go to an NDC so that he can also take off that position rightfully through an NDC. You know, that is the problem we have in ODM right now, because some people do not believe that those young people can be able to take over. But as you can see, even people responding there, because you also need to listen to the likes of Ronnie or Gina. Those people probably are even ODM followers. We need to listen to them. When they are saying that this is the person that nyota ya baba iko wapi, wanasema nyota ya baba iko kwa vijana, because of the spirit. That is what Baba represented. And you cannot tell me that when Baba went, he left such a huge gap that we cannot even find a deputy president in that party. How can you even say that?
Definitely, they say palipo na moshi hapakosi moto. This debate has definitely elicited quite some reaction. It's drawn out even the deputy president to come out and comment about it. He's quoted there on the front page of Taifa Leo. Kindiki asema hatishwi na kelele za chura. Mjadala umezuka kuhusu hatma ya wadhifa wa Kindiki baada ya ODM kusema inataka kiti hicho mwaka ujao. We do have a clip where the deputy president is speaking about this. But let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll have what he said about his position as running mate to President William Ruto.